Do you have an MTHFR gene mutation? Well, if you do, and really even if you don't, you clicked on the right video. Let's go. So to start off with, what is MTHFR? Well, it stands for methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. Now, what is that? It's an enzyme that reduces methylene tetrahydrofolate into methyl tetrahydrofolate, which methyl tetrahydrofolate is the active form of folate for our bodies, which folate is vitamin B9. So what's the importance of methyl tetrahydrofolate? Well, it methylates, that's the verb, homocysteine, which is an amino acid. And that methylation of homocysteine converts it back into methionine. Why does that need to occur? Well, high homocysteine levels, right? The term is hyperhomocysteinemia, is a risk factor for a number of different maladies and diseases. One that, fortunately, I think we're all familiar with is cardiovascular disease. So high homocysteine levels is no bueno. So going back to the opening of this episode and also the little comment that I posted the picture of at the opener, a genetic mutation of the MTHFR gene can actually cause higher homocysteine levels. Now, there are a number of genetic mutations that can occur. I'll put the pictures of the folate cycle and the methionine cycle. There are various parts of these cycles where there are genetic mutations that are known that can impair the process and end with us having negative side effects. But if you know about this, obviously you clicked on the videos, so you must, or if you're just curious, if you've done any research, reading, watching videos, etc., you will hear about, I'm sure, the C677T polymorphism. So the difference is, when I say mutation versus polymorphism, is a polymorphism is essentially a mutation that occurs in a wide number of people. I'll pop up the numbers here. I've heard various percentages of population that have this genetic polymorphism or mutation, if you really want to call it, that affects the MTHFR enzyme. And so what does this mean, the C677T polymorphism? What the heck does that mean? Well, I'll pop up a picture of the gene here. This is the gene that creates the MTHFR enzyme when it's transcribed and then eventually translated in our cells to make the enzyme. In the 677th position, that's where you get the 677. Normally, I guess in a normal gene, what's called the wild type, you will have a C there, which is a cytosine, all right? But in the mutation, the person has T, a thymine there. So that's where you get the C677T, all right? You have this single nucleotide that gets switched. That's why it's called a SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism. Now, because of this switch from cytosine to thymine, essentially it makes the MTHFR enzyme less effective at reducing methylene tetrahydrofolate into methyl tetrahydrofolate. And because of this reduced effectiveness of this enzyme, people claim that they have severe fatigue, they have brain fog, they get headaches. But as I said earlier, there's a number of different symptoms and maladies that could occur. Now, it's possible because, as I mentioned earlier, there are multiple different mutations that can occur among the two pathways, that people can have combinations of these mutations, and it can become very, very severe, where they can have what's termed as an MTHFR deficiency, where the amount of methylation that occurs is extremely low, and that can lead to intellectual disabilities and like psychotic episodes where it actually affects their mental health. So something to keep in mind that certainly could impact the symptoms that you may have, because some people don't have any symptoms at all when having this, is, are you heterozygous for C677T? We're just going to be talking about that mutation in this episode. Are you homozygous for C677T? So our genetic makeup, the DNA that makes us, half of it comes from father, the other half comes from my mother, which explains a lot of why I turned out the way I am if you knew my parents. Well, heterozygous for C677T means that either my dad or my mom gave me, I inherited from them the mutated gene for the C677T. It's got a thymine there instead of a cytosine. And then from the other parent, I got the normal, quote unquote, normal gene. Homozygous means both parents gave me the mutated gene. Now, I have done genetic testing. I actually do not have the mutated C677T gene, but that's important to keep in mind if you're concerned about it or if you know you have a mutation, is, are you heterozygous or homozygous? Because if you're heterozygous, the effectiveness of the enzyme is higher than if you are homozygous. All right, so now that I've explained briefly like what it is, what do we do about it? What can somebody do if they have the mutation, whether heterozygous or homozygous? Well, first of all, you make sure you get a sufficient amount of folate in your diet. So what foods have folate? Well, broccoli, other various vegetables. I'll put pictures or lists up here. Beans, nuts, eggs, beef. They all can contain folate, good sources of folate. Now, if you prefer to go the supplementation route, then you can take methyl tetrahydrofolate. It is available as a lone product, or you can get it like in multivitamins. I'll put a picture of a multivitamin that has methyl tetrahydrofolate in it. Next on the list is make sure you're getting a sufficient amount of vitamin B12, which is cobalamin. Now, foods that are high in cobalamin are meat, eggs, dairy, fish. You can also take the methylated form of vitamin B12 cobalamin if you want to go the supplementation route with this vitamin as well, and that's methylcobalamin. So I'll pop another picture up here of a vitamin that has methylcobalamin in it, so you can take that as well. Now, the reason why it's important to consume B12 is because when methyl tetrahydrofolate methylates homocysteine to convert it back into methionine, B12, vitamin B12, is the cofactor in that reaction. So you want to make sure you have sufficient amount of B12. Now, items 3 and 4, I'm going to put together because they are related in terms of what they do in this process. And that is vitamin B2, which is riboflavin, and vitamin B3, which is niacin. You want to make sure you're getting sufficient amounts of those as well. Now, what foods contain vitamin B2 and B3? Meat, eggs, liver, what else? Dairy can contain it. In terms of plant-based sources, you have legumes, seeds, nuts. So again, you want to make sure you're getting enough B2 and vitamin B3. The reason for that is vitamin B3 is a precursor for NAD+. Right? And when NAD+ is phosphorylated and reduced, it becomes NADPH. Right? I'm not going to get too much into the science here, but then vitamin B2 is a precursor for FAD. Okay? And FAD interacts directly with the MTHFR enzyme. And then NADPH reduces FAD. So both those vitamins are very, very important. You can also take them as supplements. And last on the list of vitamins is vitamin B6, which is pyridoxine. I think in a previous video, I'm not sure if I actually put that part in there or not. I may have edited it out, but I called it peroxidine. Hey folks, I mean, I never said I was the smartest person. It's pyridoxine is the name of vitamin B6. Now, what foods are great sources of vitamin B6? Meat, eggs, chicken, If on the plant-based side, it's seeds, nuts. I mean, you're kind of seeing a pattern here in terms of the foods that have these vitamins in it. Now, for vitamin B6, it's important because, and I'll pop up the methionine cycle here, is down here at the bottom of this cycle in the picture, and that is the transsulfuration pathway. So homocysteine is actually used to go through this pathway, even though high levels of homocysteine can be dangerous. And what happens through that pathway is homocysteine is eventually used to create glutathione, which is the body's natural antioxidant, right? So vitamin B6 is a cofactor in that pathway. So hyperhomocysteinemia, high homocysteine levels, well, homocysteine becomes oxidized. And when that happens, it can create free radicals. I'm sure you've heard of free radicals, oxidative stress, reactive oxygen species. And those free radicals can damage the body, and it can cause basically like systemic inflammation. So that's one of the reasons why homocysteine, high levels of it, is not good. Well, high homocysteine levels can also impair that transsulfuration pathway. So you're getting like a double whammy here. You're getting higher homocysteine levels. If you have a MTHFR gene mutation, it's possible it can cause homocysteine levels to increase, but then it's impacting negatively the body's process to make glutathione, which would counteract the free radicals produced by homocysteine. So yeah, you're getting hit from both sides here. So that's why it's no bueno. And the last one on the list, well, I should say there's two, but it's related to this last one, is TMG, trimethylglycine, aka betaine. You want to make sure you're getting a good amount of betaine as well, because, well, it's in the name, trimethyl. We're methylating homocysteine. So it's got 3 methyl groups in order to methylate. Now, the process by which trimethylglycine can methylate homocysteine is what's called the BHMT pathway. I've talked about it before. Betaine homocysteine methyltransferase. So that's an alternate pathway that the body can use to help keep homocysteine levels under control. Now, part of that process, zinc is used in there as well. So you want to make sure you're getting enough zinc in your diet, which is a mineral. Well, folks, that's it for today. It's a very, very short episode. Just wanted to hit the highlights to give you all some good information and help me learn as well. I'll pop the comment up here again. Thank you so much for that comment that then led to the research to do this episode. So if you have any comments, questions, positive, negative, whatever, let me know. If there's anything I got wrong or anything you want to add, comment away. I'm all for it. So thanks again for watching or listening. And until next time, be sure you get all your vitamins. Take care. Bye-bye.